You could have discovered almost everything that's since been discovered with light microscopes, with a Leeuwenhoek microscope made in the 1600s, if only he'd known what he was looking at. So what about sperm cells? He also was the first person to draw and record sperm cells. Well, this is what sperm cells look like under a modern phase contrast microscope. That's the kind of view that you get. And Leeuwenhoek drew them. This is how he drew them, and they're quite unmistakable. If I put that up and said, what's that a picture of? Any of you, whether you're scientists or not, would say, oh, that's a picture of sperm. Obviously, it's a picture of sperm. If I said to you, yes, and it was made 300 years ago, you might be quite surprised. Well, the BBC decided they would do their experiment, and it was rather too much information, I thought, for early in the evening on television. This man produced a sample of his own semen and held it in front of the lens and said, I've got a sample here of my own, he said, which I'm going to look at under the microscope. And of course everybody, as it were, reached for the off switch, but it was too late, it had been said by then. Anyway, this is how they showed the results of the experiment. And I do want you to watch this, because at the end, he actually says, the man is called Adam, he actually says at the end, well, there they are, thousands of little atoms powering along with their whip-like tails, and you cannot see a bloody thing. It's really, I mean, he's telling you what you should see, it's just that you can't see it. This is a quite classical piece of misinformation on television. Do watch.
But, you know, there they are, tiny little atoms swimming along. They look kind of like tadpoles. In his own semen, Van Leeuwenhoek would have seen the same thing, thousands of tiny little animalcules powering along with whiplash-like tails.
Forgive me, I mean, these are pretty decent spectacles, but I don't see it. But could you have seen sperm cells with a Leeuwenhoek microscope? Yes, you could. Leeuwenhoek actually used post-coital mucus to find occasional sperm cells. That's what he did. But this is what living sperm cells look like under a Leeuwenhoek microscope. It isn't true that they couldn't manage to see them, and therefore you simply describe it in your script. It isn't true that Leeuwenhoek couldn't see them, or might have imagined them, or had to exaggerate what it is that he saw. You can see them perfectly plainly.